Hi, Internet. I'm coming to you this morning on the Shadrach YouTube page to talk about Journey of the Spirit. A lot of churches call this preparation time, the weeks before Easter, Lent, and we use that language too sometimes, but we also talk about it as Journey of the Spirit. We've been doing this thing here at Shadrach for about 10 years where we have an experience in common. We study together, maybe we even use music and art at 9 o'clock Sunday school time, at 10:15 worship time, online and in our newsletters. The kids have a similar theme a lot of years. And this year I'm so excited, we're doing Jesus in popular culture. And so I'm just going to talk for a couple minutes about what that means by telling you I remember seeing E.T., the extraterrestrial, in theaters as a young adolescent with my brother and my grandmother. And I did not know the phrase Christ imagery at that time. I think I was 11. But that story of E.T.'s arrival from somewhere other than here, and his relationship of compassion with Elliot, and the way he changes this group of children, and the connections between them, and eventually the story of his death and resurrection, it seemed familiar to me, even though I didn't know that sort of literary term of Christ imagery. And as I grew, I continued to be sort of enchanted by the ways that faith shows up in books and movies and film, and then later the internet, and in novels and literature, and it's just really interesting stuff. The best part of popular culture for me is the stuff that kind of permeates so widely that everybody knows a little bit about it. And so I'll tell you a little bit about my favorite scene in Harry Potter. In book 7, Harry is wandering about trying to save the world with his friend Hermione, and there's this touching and moving scene where he comes across his parents' gravesite for the first time. And he is spooked, honestly, by the inscription that he finds on their tombstone. The last enemy that shall be destroyed is death. And he's, what does that mean? And why, when my parents have this on their tombstone, why would they be afraid of death? Isn't that what the bad guy is about? And it falls to his friend Hermione, the wise one, to say, no, Harry, it's not about that. It's not fear of death. It's faith that something is beyond death. Despite the reality of death, that there's more to life, there's a bigger picture. And it's not in the book, but I'll share with you a secret that inscription is from Paul's letter to the Corinthians, and chapter 15, 1 Corinthians 15. And in it, Paul is talking about his vision for the end of history, for the triumph of the cosmic Christ. And that's the last to be destroyed, is death itself, is brought to heel by this figure of Christ. This is Buddy Christ. And that's just a really moving scene for me that Harry doesn't understand at this point. He doesn't get it, and it falls to Hermione to explain the tombstone for him. But Harry's actions at the end of that final book really embody another part of the New Testament in John's Gospel, when Jesus says, "Greater love has no one than this, that one lays down their life for friends." And that's, I'm getting off the clip. That's really what happens to Harry. That he becomes that Christ figure at the end of the book. And it's really wonderful. And everybody, is there anybody in the world that doesn't know that story? That it really becomes just a little glimpse, a little way to interact with our own faith and our values. And so that's kind of what we're going to be doing in Journey of the Spirit this year. This coming Sunday, we're looking at the ways that Jesus shows up on the internet 2,000 years later. He's all over the computer. And how does that happen? So if you're coming for journey groups at 9 a.m. or 11:45 a.m. on Sunday, take some time before you show up. Just grab your phone on the way in, it's fine. And Google Jesus. Or do an image search for Christ in popular culture. And just bring in what you find. And we'll talk about how we choose to interact or respond to the images of Jesus that we see on the internet, and how we might see Scripture and the internet as mirrors of each other. And we get to choose what rabbit holes we follow as we click through on a website, or as we look at different aspects of the stories of Jesus in our own scriptures. So it's going to be fun, and we're going to have some great times together. So we'll see you on Sunday. Thanks.